Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. Today we have some entitled parent stories and our first story of the day is by WhyWontItThunder. Entitled Mom thinks she has to be invited to everything, gets husband to scream at us. Sandy is my uncle's girlfriend. No one in our family but my uncle likes Sandy. Why? Well, for starters, she's still married and living with her husband and daughter. Secondly, she's a huge narcissist and throws a tantrum every time she doesn't get her way. About a month into my uncle and her dating, we were going to take family pictures and she's there with her daughter. We asked her for a few pics with just my grandma and her kids and grandkids, but that didn't go over well. Sandy starts screaming that she's dating my uncle, so that means she and her daughter are family too and deserve to be in the pictures just as much as anyone else. Sandy has even stalked my grandma, who is only 4'9" and in her late 70s. Back in March, when the pandemic was starting, my grandma was still living alone, so she had to do her own errands. My grandma went to Costco one day, and there Sandy was casually running into my grandma. Sandy was thinking about getting a Costco membership, but she doesn't like the Costco that's 30 minutes closer to her. Then a few weeks later, she shows up at the same pharmacy that my grandma goes to because Sandy's pharmacy didn't have the medicine she needed, so they sent her to one that was 35 minutes from her. Sandy also showed up at my grandma's bank on the exact day that my grandma decided to open a savings account for her grandkids. Sandy asked my grandma what she was doing, and when my grandma told her, Sandy launched into a fit because, "What about my daughter? She's technically your grandkid too." My uncle and her had only been dating for about 3 to 4 months at that point. Just as my grandma was about to say something, the bank's security came over and asked if my grandma was okay. They knew her from decades of her banking there, as well as all of her kids and grandkids, so when my grandma said no, they immediately escorted Sandy out. Shortly after that, my grandma moved states to live with my aunt, and that's so far been the last stalking incident. On Thanksgiving, we all did a Zoom dinner instead of having a big gathering. About a half hour into the meal, my uncle's phone starts going crazy. It's Sandy. She starts demanding to know why she wasn't invited and goes into full tantrum mode. So my uncle caves and sends her the link. As soon as she gets on, Sandy starts screaming and her daughter Amy, 12, is running around in the background screaming and crying that it's not fair. Sandy starts calling us all selfish jerks, and then her husband starts yelling at us that we can't do that to his wife. My grandma had had enough of Sandy and scoffed at her. She said, "See, this is why nobody here likes you. This is why we do everything without you. This is why I'm so glad that you and that rabid kid of yours aren't invited to my granddaughter's wedding." No big dramatic ending, we just ended the call because everyone was super angry. We decided to do another one without my uncle this time, and that was fine. Serious question here. If the uncle doesn't give Sandy up, should the family just kind of excommunicate the uncle in a way? Just stop inviting him so that Sandy doesn't get involved in all this stuff and causes such a fuss? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by ttalgibell. I'm going to speak to your regional manager and get you fired. Entitled Mom threatened my job when she gives me incorrect information and blames me. Yeah, I'm not good with titles, but oh well. This is a story about some entitled mom I met while I worked in retail a few years back. Little backstory. I used to work retail in a Target country store. I had been working there for 2 years before this happened, and I knew the shop's in and outs. I took pride in my job and always did my best to make sure the customers left with a smile. At the time, the store manager was off on maternity leave, her baby due at any moment. This is relevant to the story, leaving the assistant store manager stepping up for a year to fill that position. For the sake of this story, the actual store manager, the one on maternity, will be referred to as store manager, and the assistant store manager as her title of assistant store manager. It's Sunday and the shop opens at 10 a.m., staying open only 6 hours. As it's usually not a busy kind of day, there was only myself and assistant store manager working the entire shift together from open to close. Not a big deal. I've been doing it for a while by this point, and we have a routine in place, which is always good. Early in the morning, assistant store manager mentions how she hadn't heard from the store manager in a couple hours. Something that's a little out of the ordinary for them, as they're actually quite good friends outside of work hours too. Manning the front counter and greeting everyone who walks in, the phone rings, so I pick it up with a smile, ready to help whoever's on the other end of the line, and it seems pleasant enough. Good morning, Target City name, this is OP speaking.
Good morning, I wanted to see if you have any boys' PJs in stock at the moment.
I can go check for you, what sizes are you looking for?
Size 6 and 8.
Me following my training to ask extra questions to make sure what the customer wants is definitely there. Any particular style, long or short sleeve, full-legged or shorts, any specific colors?
Oh no, anything is fine.
No worries, I'll just pop you on hold real quick and go have a look for you. I did as I said I would, setting the entitled mother on hold and darting to the other side of the store to peruse the boys' pajamas section to see what we have before coming back and taking the call back up. Hi, you still there? Yes, we have quite an assortment of boys' PJs in stock, plenty of them the sizes you like.
Fantastic, I'll drive down from town that's 10 minutes away by car to come buy some. Thanks.
No worries, and we will see you a little later. Ending the call, I go back about my business. The assistant store manager coming down from the office not long after, and we stood at the registers by the entrance and exit to talk amongst ourselves while still greeting customers as they came in and out respectfully. The assistant store manager starts to discuss how maybe the store manager has gone into labor because the lack of communications across any of their usual platforms. Both of us ceasing our talking to greet a woman who comes into the store, smiles on our face as we tell her welcome and to let us know if she needed any help. Spoiler, this is the entitled mom. She asked us where the boys' PJ department is, and we both pointed it out to her, asking if she wanted one of us to show her exactly in person, but she said no with a smile and went on down herself. Assistant store manager and me talk a little more about the possibility of the store manager having her baby, the both of us cooing a little before assistant store manager takes her leave to go refill some stock in the back of the store, while I manned the registers alone and tidied up anything that needed to be done. Entitled mother soon comes back up and gets my attention.
Excuse me, I called up earlier about boys' PJs. I can't find them.
Me smiling still because customer service. Would you like me to take you directly to the department? Entitled mother nodded her head, and I walked her down to the PJs, pointing out which is the boys' area and highlighting the size 6 would be in the 1 to 7 section, and the 8 in the 8 to 12, showing her exactly which is which. She turns to me and looks right at me with a confused frown on her face.
Yes, but where's the Christmas pajamas you said you had?
It was my turn to be confused, taking a moment to not sputter out like an idiot before I answer her. Me finding the few we had of that theme and pointing them out. Christmas pajamas? They're here on this end. By this point, I've started to get a little worried. There's definitely no size 6 or 8 of the Christmas pajamas. It was mid-December, Christmas not even 2 weeks away, and she wanted Christmas pajamas.
You said you had the Christmas pajamas in the sizes I wanted, so where are they?
I'm sorry, but you didn't say you wanted Christmas pajamas. I thought you just wanted to get new PJs. I did ask on the phone if there was something specific you wanted.
No, I said I want Christmas PJs. I know what I said. What is your name? I don't appreciate being lied to.
Me attempting to salvage this the best I can. I really am sorry. I don't recall you saying Christmas, or I would have made sure before telling you. Entitled mother reaching for my lanyard which has my name on it.
I asked you what your name is, OP. I'm going to report you for lying to me.
Entitled mother is angry, going on about how she wasted a trip into the city and how it was all my fault. The both of us walking from the department as she was clearly leaving, scowling at me. My assistant manager was manning the register as I had called her to take over while I was assisting the entitled mother. If you like, you can always check the online stores and have the PJs you want sent as a click and collect. You can either pick up from our store, or you can have it delivered to your home. Or if you'd like, I can call one of the other stores and see if they have them that can be sent here for you. Another part of my training was to always give options. Usually these ones are appreciated. My assistant store manager can hear me relaying this information, trying my best to keep professional despite wanting to cry. I can be sensitive when accused of something. Entitled Mother was having none of it. She stormed out after making sure she memorized my name, and that was that. So I thought. I told the assistant store manager what happened, and she told me to go on a break to settle down since it was clear I was upset. She told me not to stress, that I had done my job well. The praise helped, and I took my break to calm back down, ready for the rest of my shift. I told this to a few other coworkers a few days later while working, small talk about whatnot, and thought nothing more had happened since the entitled mother didn't ask to see the assistant store manager, just left. Her threat to reporting me to the regional manager turned out, however, to be true, but she didn't just report me, she also demanded compensation. It was about a week later, maybe more, and the assistant manager calls me into her office when I arrive, before my shift was about to start. She informed me that the entitled mother had sent an email to the head office about how I blatantly lied, and how I had been so unprofessional. Turns out the entitled mother had also dragged the assistant store manager into it by claiming that myself and assistant store manager were lazing at the register, only talking about inappropriate topics and not greeting people, despite us having the CCTV that showed us alert to customers coming in and out and every time we spoke to them. Entitled mother demanded not only for me to be let go, fired, but also an apology from me to her, money for the petrol she'd used for travel, as well as a $100 Target gift card. Assistant store manager told me that the regional manager would be here later that day for him to speak to me, and I was literally fearing the worst. Regional manager comes and he asks me about what happened. So I told him the phone call and how entitled mother never specified Christmas-themed PJs, and that I did ask her for more details about styles and such, just in case. But entitled mother had disregarded it in a sense that said she didn't mind what they were, she just wanted PJs. I then went on to explain the interaction, which the assistant store manager adding in that I did offer options like online ordering and contacting a different store. We even showed the CCTV that debunked the ignoring accusation before myself and assistant store manager explained we were discussing the store manager's maternity leave at the time the customer had come in, and that we weren't at all being inappropriate, only concerned about the lack of communication. Store manager wasn't in labor that day, it turns out. She was with her in-laws making final preparations and didn't check her notifications. After taking all the information and looking over the footage, regional manager assured me I wasn't in the wrong, and that he would handle the rest of the situation, but in no way was the entitled mother getting anything she demanded. Assistant store manager told me later that day that herself and the regional manager called up the entitled mother via the given home phone, and her husband answered. Apparently, when they said who they were and who they were looking for, he said, "Oh great, what has she done this time?" Seems like the entitled mother does this enough to have a reputation. A couple months later, the store was doing a stock take and almost every worker was there. Myself drifting between departments to double check numbers while serving as well, and who comes in but entitled mother? I didn't even realize, and I greeted with my bright smile and as usual offered to help if needed. It wasn't until the entitled mother left a few minutes later with nothing in hand that my assistant store manager turned to me and went, "Wasn't that entitled mother? She didn't seem too pleased to see you all chipper." It kind of in the end sounds like a scheme the entitled mother was trying to do to try and just get some kind of free assets or something out of these stores, but at the same time she was calling for people to get fired. So I really hope she wasn't trying to do the scam at multiple places because that's pretty crappy. Our next story is by littlemissbunnywoman, entitled Father Finds Out I Have a Car and Drive. Well, this takes place when I was 19 10 years ago. I am 29 now. I was living in downtown Toronto in a condo. I had moved out of the house and was attending university. So here's the thing, my father was and still is a controlling, manipulative little man-child who thinks he is better than all the common people of the world. At the time, he still had way too much influence over my life. He even tried to prevent me from attending university, but that's another story. So yeah, onto the story. I had been living on my own, and again, I know I am very privileged. I had a trust fund. So the condo was owned by me in my name, and I had just gotten my full driver's license. My mom made me get my license when I turned 16, but to this day, I don't know how she managed to keep it a secret from my father. But yeah, I had just gotten my full G driver's license and got my first car, a small white Toyota Yaris. Well, unfortunately, my father found out I not only had a driver's license, but my own car, and in the worst way possible. I had been shopping at the Eaton Center in downtown Toronto, and well, my father happened to be pulling into the underground parking as I was getting back into my car. Well, he saw me and he blew up. He slammed on the brakes of his car and got out and just started screaming and screaming at me to the point where he gets so pissed off at me, he grabs my car keys and won't give them back. Also, the thing you need to know about me is I am super small, around 142 centimeters at 80 pounds. I do have a lot of fight in me, but I know as much as anyone, my fight is like a tiny kitten pawing at your legs. He took my keys and tossed them down one of those storm drains and made me call a tow truck. My car was towed back to my mother and father's house. At the time, they were still living together. Through many threats and BS, he made me sell the car. My mom tried to fight for me to have the car, but it was one fight she just could not win. But my father sold the car for not even half what it was worth and kept the money. Also, my father found his way onto Reddit and has been reading my posts. It has not gone the way he wanted. He has been freaking out about me to my sister over text message. I hope to post them and translate them soon. I just don't understand at 19 how they hold so much power over you still. The fact that they can get your car that you own towed back to their place and they can just force you to sell it and he keeps the money? There's a lot I just don't really understand. It's kind of insane. And our final story of the day is by Sasuke, entitled Mom Tries to Steal My Phone, Gets Arrested. I was at my local Apple store going to pick up my new iPhone 12. I had ordered online and chose in-store pickup. I had prepaid for it, so it was just a quick 5-minute pickup and drop-off. I got my phone and was walking away when this kid who couldn't have been older than 10 came up and tried to take the phone from me. I held on to it and told him to screw off. The employee who helped me was nearby and came over to help. He told the kid it was my phone and he had to give it back. As he was telling the kid to let go of it, this lady walked up and slapped me hard across the face. She screamed, "What are you doing? Take your hands off my kid's phone." The following dialogue ensues. The employee says, "Ma'am, this is OP's phone. He just bought it." The entitled kid says, "No, it's mine. I want it." He started wailing and shouting, "I want it, I want it, I want it."
"Look what you've done. Now my baby's crying, you little poop."
She tried to slap me again, but I dodged her hand. The employee said, "Ma'am, that's enough. You've caused a scene, tried to steal property, and assaulted a child. I'm a teen and it's pretty obvious I'm a teen."
"No, go get your manager. This is my kid's phone and this little brat isn't going to steal it."
Employee radios for the manager. Manager says, "What's going on here? I heard that a kid's being slapped and stolen from." The employee says, "Well, manager, this..." Entitled mother cuts him off.
"Yes, this little brat is stealing from my baby and slapped him."
The manager says, "OP, I'm going to need you to leave now before I call the mall security." The employee says, "Wait, manager, that's not what happened at all. I saw OP purchase this phone. This kid was trying to steal it from him, and then entitled mother slapped him across the face. I intervened, and entitled mother said it was her son's, then tried to slap OP again."
"That is not true. This employee's lying."
The manager said, "I'm going to check the security cameras. Employee is holding onto the phone, and I want both of you at different corners of the store." Entitled mother tried to protest this, but manager told her to comply or he would call the police. Manager came out 5 minutes later and of course said it was my phone and she had to leave.
"That's BS and you know it. I'm calling the police. You're all going to be arrested for stealing from my baby."
She called the police and made some sob story of how we're all stealing from her and said we were going to beat her up. The cops practically sprinted here with their hands on their tasers because they thought it was going to be violent. Police Officer 1 says, "Everyone freeze, OP, put your hands up." I complied, and entitled mother had the biggest poop-eating grin I had ever seen, like she just won. I got put in handcuffs before anyone could say anything. The manager says, "Wait officers, entitled mother's lying and I have it all on camera." The officers questioned us both, and then Police Officer 1 went with manager to review the footage while Police Officer 2 watched us. After 15 minutes, Police Officer 1 and manager came out, and Police Officer 1 said, "Entitled mother, you are under arrest. You have the right to remain silent." Entitled mother actually tried to run away but got tackled by Police Officer 2. She screamed and tried to fight the police, but eventually got locked into the squad car. Police Officer 1 then asked me if I wanted to press charges. I said yes because this lady attacked me, and even I know she's screwed for assaulting a minor. I'm meeting with a lawyer tomorrow. I'll update everyone then. So the update basically said that OP is going to go ahead with the charges, and that entitled mother is looking at anything up to a fine of up to $80,000 and up to 15 years in prison. Obviously, I don't think she'll get nearly any of those, but it'll still probably be some kind of very hefty penalty. So needless to say, this all went full circle to bite her right in the butt for being, well, an entitled mother like that. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So which of these stories was your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing and turn notifications on if you haven't so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Any little thing that you do helps the channel grow so much more. Whether it's commenting, subscribing, or just watching the video, thank you all so very much for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time right here on the Storytime channel.